Alright guys, so we're going to jump right in and start to learn HTML. We're going to learn all the important HTML5 tags, attributes. We'll learn how to insert images into pages, links, forms, stuff like that. And I realize that a lot of you guys probably already know some of this stuff, so feel free to skip around, skip some videos. If you want to skip this whole section altogether, that's fine. Later on, after section 3, we'll be getting into like CSS grid and flexbox and animations and more difficult stuff. But again, I want this course to be very friendly for absolute beginners that have never even touched HTML before. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a new folder for our HTML files. So we'll just go ahead and right click and say new folder, and I'm going to rename this to HTML sandbox. And the idea here is for every section, or every video I should say, we're going to be touching on a different topic. So for instance, we'll look at like links and images in a video, we'll look at forms and input, and I want to have a separate file for each video and create a sandbox that you can use as a reference if you need to go back to it later on to see how a tag is structured or what attributes it takes, things like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and open this up in VS Code, in Visual Studio Code. And there's a few ways to do that. If you're on Windows, you should be able to right click and say open with code. You can do it that way. If you're on a Mac, you can drag it down to your VS Code icon in your bar down below, or you can just open up VS Code and just click open folder and then search for it. So mine's on my desktop. There it is, HTML sandbox, and I'll go ahead and open. Alright, so we can close this up, and now on the side you can see the HTML sandbox folder is open. So let's go ahead and create our first HTML file. And I'm basically going to create a file called index.html. Whoops, not comma, but .html. Now there's something really important for Windows users. If you are seeing a .txt here after the .html, then you have to actually change something in your folder settings. Alright, so I have a screenshot here. If you're on Windows and you're seeing a .txt, you should check this anyways to make sure that this box is unchecked. What you want to do is go to your View tab in your file manager and go to Options right here, and then click Change Folder and Search Options. You'll get a box like this that pops up, and you want to click the View tab and make sure that this is unchecked, this Hide Extensions for Known File Types. Okay, you want it to show the file extension. So just make sure that that's unchecked if you're on Windows. Alright, so I just wanted to mention that so you don't run into problems. So now we have an HTML file. So what do we do with this? We need to put in what's called an HTML tag. Okay, so HTML files are full of HTML tags which surround content. So let's take a look at how HTML tags are actually formatted. So elements are surrounded in angle brackets. So basically the less than and greater than signs. So the element here, for example, is an H1, and different elements do different things. This is a heading tag. There's actually H1 through H6, and I'm going to go over that in another video. But basically this will make this text much bigger. Okay, this here is a paragraph tag, which is just for paragraphs, just regular sized text. And notice that there's an opening tag and there's a closing tag, or a start and an end tag. And the end tag has a /. Okay, so that's how you identify the ending tag. Now there are some self-closing tags for stuff that doesn't have content inside of it, like the H1 and the paragraph, they have content inside. The BR tag is actually just a line break, so it just kind of skips a line. So there's no need to put any content inside of it, so it's a self-closing tag. It doesn't need an ending tag. Now, notice that this one has a / and this one doesn't. This is actually a remnant of XHTML, which is a derivative of HTML, and it's not used that much anymore. HTML5 is definitely the standard. That's what you want to learn. In HTML5 you could use either of these. So you can use the XHTML version with the line or the /, but you don't need to. This would be just fine. Okay, so this is how tags are structured. So what I'm going to do now is just put in a couple tags, and I want to show you how to open an HTML file in the browser. So remember, tags have an opening angle bracket, and we'll do an H1, which is a heading. We'll close that H1. And with VS Code, every text editor is different. With VS Code, it's going to end the tag for you. Okay, so notice that the ending tag was put in automatically, which is very helpful. And VS Code actually has a tool that comes pre-installed called Emmet, which you can use to type really fast HTML. And I'm going to show you some tips and tricks with Emmet as we move along. So let's put something in here. We'll just say, welcome to my website. And then we're going to go on the next line, and we're going to put a paragraph tag. Now remember, we have Emmet installed, and with Emmet we can just do P, because we want a paragraph tag, which is a P, and then we can hit enter or tab. Okay, you can do enter or tab, and it'll actually complete it for us. Okay, so it makes it very easy. If we want, an H2 tag, we can do H2 enter. If we want, let's say, an image tag, we can do IMG enter, and that will actually give us the attributes that we need. I'm going to go over all this stuff later, so don't worry about it. But just to show you that Emmet is very helpful, and it allows you to write HTML very fast. Okay, so in the paragraph, let's just say this is my very first website. Okay, so we just have a heading tag and a paragraph. Let's go ahead and save this. You can either go to File, Save, or you can just do Control-S or Command-S on a Mac, and that will save the file. Okay, so now let's go ahead and minimize this, and let's go into our HTML sandbox folder, and you can see we have our index.html file. Now, you might have a different icon. It's probably going to be whatever your default browser is. It could be Chrome or Safari or Edge if you're on Windows. So you just want to open this with a browser. So I'm actually going to right-click and just say Open with Google Chrome, which is my default browser. And there it is. So you can see that the H1 is a large heading, and then the paragraph is just normal sized text. But this is in fact an HTML file. You can see in the URL bar here, it gives us the full path. Okay, yours will probably be different, but mine is in my desktop in HTML sandbox and then index.html. Now, of course, when you upload this to a web host, it'll be your domain name. So let's say you registered mywebsite.com, which of course is already taken, but we'll use that as an example. So this would be replaced, this file, this stuff here would all be replaced with whatever your domain is. Now, there's a reason that I called it index.html, and this name here is significant because when you call it index.html, this is your home page. If we were to upload this to a host with, let's say, mywebsite.com as the domain, if we go to mywebsite.com, it's going to load the index page. Okay, so it's very important to understand that. Whatever you want your home page, you want to call that index. And then any other page you can call whatever you want. Like let's say you had an about page that listed your company info or something like that. You could create an about.html page, upload it, and then you would go to mywebsite.com/about.html. Okay, and that would load that. But index is significant because that's always going to be your home page. All right, so now that we have created an HTML file and opened it with Chrome, in the next video I'm going to show you how to correctly structure an HTML document, because this isn't correct. There's some other things that we need to add in order for it to be a valid HTML document. All right, so we'll get into that next. All right, guys, so in the last video, we created an index.html file. We opened it inside of a browser so we could see how it renders. And this is not the standard of how to create a document. There's some other things that you need to add. Even if we only wanted to display this in the browser, there's some other tags that we need to add for it to be a valid HTML5 document. Now, before we do anything, I'm going to rename this file. So instead of index, I'm going to rename it to 01_basic_layout.html, because like I said, I want this to be a sandbox that you can go back to and you can check certain things, and I want each file to be named after what what we're doing inside of it. Okay, so we're going to just number them so they're in order. If you don't want to number them, you don't have to. You could call it just basic layout or basic or whatever, but I want to be very specific, and I want you guys to have this for future reference. All right, so basic layout of an HTML page. Let's actually just get rid of this for now. So the first thing that you're going to want on every HTML page is the doc type. Okay, so I'm just going to type this out. It's going to be an angle bracket, exclamation, doc type, usually all capitals, and then HTML, and then closing angle bracket. So this is a doc type, and what this does is it tells the browser what type of document it is, because a browser can read HTML5, it can read XHTML, it can read HTML 4.0.1. So there's a lot of different variations of HTML, but HTML5 is definitely the standard, and that's what you're going to want to use. It's also much easier than the others, and it's less strict when it comes to tag syntax. So I just want to quickly show you from the w3schools.com site, which is a great site for reference. This is a page all on doc types. And if we go down here, you'll see that the doc type declaration must be the very first thing in your HTML document before the HTML tag, which I'll go over in a second. And down here, it gives us the different types. So for HTML5, it's what we just did. But then you'll see that HTML 4.0.1 actually has a much longer doc type because there's different variations. There's strict, transitional, frame set, and this has to do with what's allowed and what's not. So it's gotten much easier over the years with HTML5. So we don't have to worry about these doc types, but I just wanted to show you that they're very different. XHTML has its own doc type, has transitional, frame set, 1.0, 1.1, but this is the only one that we have to worry about. All right, so I just wanted to kind of show you that. So we're declaring this document as HTML5. The next thing we want is an HTML tag. Okay, so I'll do HTML and then hit enter or tab, and it'll finish it for me. And we just want to hit enter so that the bottom tag is down below. And now inside the HTML tag, we have a head tag, and then under the head, we have a body tag. Now notice that there's an indent here, and VS Code will do this automatically. If you're using something like Notepad, which I would definitely not suggest, it's not going to indent it for you automatically, so you have to do it yourself. Now the reason it's indented is because both of these tags are inside the HTML tag. Okay, this is actually the parent of these two tags, and these are the children of the HTML tag. Now the head and body are very different. Head is for things like meta tags, if you want to associate keywords with your page. It's basically just information about your page. It doesn't actually display in the browser, in the body of the browser. Now, one thing that you should definitely put in the head tag is the title. Okay, so we want to put a title tag, and again, we're tabbing it over because it's within the head tag. For the title, I'm just going to say my website. All right, now if I go ahead and save this, I'm going to do Control S. I'm going to save the file, and let's open it up. So we have our basic layout.html because we renamed it, and I'm going to say open with Chrome. And notice there's nothing in the body, but if we look in the tab, we see my website. Whatever you put in the title tag is going to show right here. Okay, so it's very important for you to have a title. Now, whatever we want in the body, we put in the body. So we can put back our H1, say my website, and we can put our paragraph. And we'll go ahead and save, and we'll go back and reload, and now we have our H1 and paragraph in the body. Okay, so anything that you want to show in this area is going to go in the body of your document. All right, so you just want to keep this structure in mind. This is the core, fundamental, mandatory structure of an HTML document. You have your doc type at the top, you have your HTML tags that wrap around everything, and then you have a head and body area. In your head, you should at least have the title, and in the body, you just have whatever your website content will be. So the last thing I want to show you is how to create a comment. Okay, so you might want to label stuff without it actually rendering in the browser. So let's say I wanted to put a comment right here. What I would do is put an angle bracket, an exclamation mark, and then double hyphen. Once I do that in VS Code, it actually auto completes the rest of it, but this is the format of a comment. So I'll just say this is a comment. So starts off like this, and then it ends with double hyphen and an angle bracket. So just make sure you don't forget the exclamation, because that's not a valid comment. And notice that it turns green in VS Code to let you know that it's actually a comment. And if I save this and we go to the browser and reload, notice it doesn't show here because it's a comment. Now, in browsers, you can view the source code. Okay, you can view the HTML source. On a Mac, you can do Command Option U, and on Windows, I believe it's Control U, and it'll open up a new tab that shows you the actual HTML. So you can see our doc type, our HTML tags, all that stuff. It also will show the comments in the source code. Okay, just to let you know that. So let's go back, and I want to show you how you can comment out something that's already there. So if I just put my cursor on this line right here, in VS Code I can actually just do Control and then / or question mark, the same key, the / question mark. So if I hold Control and hit that, it'll comment the whole line out, and I can toggle it. If I hit it again, Control / I can just toggle the comment. If I wanted to comment out multiple lines, I could highlight them, and again, Control / and that will comment out the whole thing. There may be times when you want to just kind of not show a certain part of the HTML in the browser and you want to comment it out. Okay, and you can put this on a separate line as well, like that. That'll still work. This is all commented out. Alright, so that's going to be it for this video, guys. In the next one, I want to give you some tips and tricks with VS Code. For instance, we can generate the basic structure automatically without having to type all this out with every HTML page. I also want to give you a couple extensions that I want to recommend and that I'll be using in this course. Alright, so I'll see you in the next video. Alright guys, so in this video I want to show you how to install something called Live Server, which is something we'll be using through the course. And basically it's an extension to VS Code that will allow us to open our HTML pages on a little development server as opposed to opening them in the file system. So right now you can see that the website is open, and if you look at the URL bar, it's file : with 3 slashes, and then basically just shows the path to the file. So the server will actually open it on what's called our local host, and not only that, it will auto reload. So when we save an HTML file or CSS or JavaScript or anything else, it's going to just auto reload, so we don't have to keep hitting the reload button every time we make a change. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to just create a new file here. I'm going to call it 02_live_server.html, just naming it after what we're doing here. And there's something else that I want to show you guys. Instead of typing out the whole structure here like we did in this file, with VS Code we can use Emmet to generate that structure. So what I'm going to do is just put an exclamation, and I can either hit enter or tab, and it's just going to kind of create that structure for us, so we don't have to type it out for every HTML page we create. Now notice there are some added things here. We have some meta tags. We're going to go over meta tags, including these ones, in the next video, but for now I just wanted to show you that we can quickly generate our structure, our doc type, HTML head body tags and stuff like that. So I'm just going to change the title here to Live Server, and we'll go down here and just put an H1, and we'll just say hello world. Doesn't really matter, I just want to put something. And then I'm going to save this with Control S, and we want to now install Live Server. So I'm going to go over here to this extensions icon, and let's make this a little bigger, and we're going to search for Live-Server, and it's going to be this one here, this first one with this purple icon. Now to install an extension in VS Code, you just want to click the little green install button. Once it installs, you want to click reload to activate. So it's just going to kind of reset the editor, and now under enabled you're going to see Live Server, and any other extensions that you install will also be displayed here. So now what we can do is, instead of leaving and going and opening up the file, we can simply right click and we can say open with Live Server. And the browser will automatically open, and it will display the web page. And notice the URL now is different. It's not just that file path. it's 127.0.0.1, which is what's called the loopback address. And this is always going to loop back to your local machine. So this is your local host. And then this :5500, this is the port number that it's running on. Okay, you can run things on different ports, and then you just have the name of the file that's loading. So from now on, we're going to use Live Server to open our files instead of, leaving and going and opening the file manually. Also, if I change something, like let's change this to, or we'll just add a paragraph here, and we'll say this is a test, and I'll just save. And now if I go to Chrome, you can see this is a test is displayed. I didn't have to go and reload it. It just auto loads. And this is great for when you actually have, your editor on one side and then the browser, because it automatically updates. Now, I don't want to do that because I only have so much screen real estate here for you guys, and I don't want to make the editor too small. We might do that in some videos later on, but for now, I'm just going to switch back and forth. So to stop the server, if you go down here, you can see this port 5500. If you click that, it'll stop the server from running. And if I go back to the browser and reload, you'll see it no longer works. If I want to start it again, I can either again do open with Live Server, or I can click this Go Live link down here. If I click that, it will start it back up and open it in the browser. All right, so I just wanted to show you guys that and let you know that that's what we'll be using, as opposed to just opening our HTML files right on the file system. So in the next video, we're going to take a look at meta tags. We'll look at the ones that are generated here, as well as some others.